good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you are watching this video. Thank you for joining us on the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review channel. I unfortunately have some bad news for all you viewers out there. In the last week, PenBoyRoy staged a protest against flex nibs that do not live up to their name, particularly those of the modern kind. With the exception of Linda Kennedy and Indie Pen Dance, all other modern flex nibs seem to fail and fall short of living up to their name, and this is a cause that PenBoyRoy feels passionately about. PenBoyRoy was thereby remanded into federal custody in conjunction with the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division. We are now awaiting judgment for sentencing. One second. I'm getting some information live as we speak. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the verdict has come down. Oh my God. Is this real? Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed of the news and the sentencing to be held against PenBoy. He's going to be remanded to use ballpoint pens. In light of this tragic news, we're going to have to discontinue this broadcast at this time. We'll see you next time. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you're joining us for this broadcast. Thank you for clicking on the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review channel. It is with great delight that I am to bring you news that the sentencing against PenBoyRoy of 24 weeks of ballpoint pen usage has been reduced in exchange for his cooperation in providing information on the Laban Celebration Harvest Yellow Fountain Pen. We are going to go now over to a feed broadcasted to us of this questioning and information that PenBoyRoy is providing to a federal officer whose voice will be masked for safety and security reasons. As you can no doubt assume, this questioning of the Laban celebration is no doubt intense. Viewer discretion is advised. Please stay tuned after the broadcast for information on how to attain an exclusive PenBoyRoy fountain pen discount at Gold Spot Pens.
As per your agreement with the United States of America, you will provide us with the information that we need, starting with background information.
In 1981, a man named John Hugh and his brother Charles, they founded Laban. And it was with the intention of just making great pens, and that's all they wanted to do, and they did it. Not only did they do it, they did it so well that there were museums that asked them to make pens for their museum. And did you know that the Pope in 2009 was even photographed, caught on film, using a Laban pen? They've been in business since then. It's been 37 years to date. Now, they do have several official dealers and representatives providing their pens to retailers throughout the world.
What about in the United States?
But in the United States, they only got one guy heading it all, and he's based out of California. You know, it's from this man that I received all the information that I'm giving you. It is either verified through this guy or through the website. Now, I'm not going to tell you his name because I don't like to name drop, but that's what I have for you.
We're going to need more information than that. I'm going to need some information that I can use, something neutral.
Okay, I can do that.
Shut up and tell me about the nib.
I'll talk about the nib. It's a German-made Schmidt two-tone stainless steel fine point nib. Now, I'm not making this up, but as per the guy, that head honcho in California who represents Laban, they're mostly Schmidt nibs. They used to use Bach if they had to, but now they mostly rely on Schmidt. And if in the event they are not able to get a Bach, they use a brand they call Win. That's also out of Germany. I've never heard of them. Let me just explain something. In 2009, Brian Gray released an article on nibs. It's on his website, and you can verify this, but it says basically that Schmidt doesn't actually make nibs. They're actually supplied by Jova or Bach, and they assemble them and then put them out there. Not really a big deal, but I guess it's important to know because if you have a Schmidt nib, it's almost essentially the same as having a Jova or Bach, right?
You had said the nibs are removable.
Okay, well, although the nib and feed are removable, it does not have a removable nib unit. It's fixed.
Tell me how the cap is assembled. Threads or friction?
The cap is assembled using threads.
And the clip is tension fixed?
Yes, the clip is tension fixed.
The finial?
The finial is black, and it's got a metal disc on the top. It has an L logo, and surrounding that L logo is leaves.
And it has an end finial, correct?
No end finial. It does not have an end finial.
What about the center band?
The center band is blank, and I know you're going to ask. So let me tell you before you start asking. There are 3 points of brandings on the pen. 1 on the finial, 2 on the clip, and 3 finally on the nib.
Filling mechanism?
It's a standard international cartridge converter filling pen. It is not eyedropper convertible.
Why not?
It's because of the metal threads, again. Now, the metal threads does cause an interesting effect. Some may like it, some may not, but it creates a ring that is visible at the base of the grip section. Oh, and the grip is perfectly cylindrical. There's no taper whatsoever, there's no flares, it's just a cylindrical grip section. Now, the cap to body threads are acrylic on acrylic, so not metal on acrylic in this case.
Tell me something good about this pen.
Okay, we can talk about that. I like to start with the nib,
Why?
because in my opinion, a nib is really important to a pen because a pen is only as good as it writes, right? Wouldn't you say that? So this two-tone steel nib is rather stiff, and even though it's on the drier side, it is consistent. It always shows up. It starts without any issues, none whatsoever. I also like how fine it is for a Eurofine nib. I want to say that it's between a Eurofine and a Japanese fine, but it actually leans closer to a Japanese fine.
So it's well tuned and adjusted?
Yes, it's very well tuned and it's very well adjusted, for sure.
I need a real answer on what the acrylic is like.
Well, I guess it's easiest to say that the acrylic is very well polished, on the outside at least. It's like touching glass.
Stop stalling. Describe the color.
It's got a beautiful pearlized shade of yellow. It has several shades of yellow, and it has a lot of depth, I want to say. And it's also a little translucent, and it's just enough to see what's inside the body, and even the ink level inside the converter. But it does take a close look. Now, the threads between the cap and the body, they're super smooth and they're super solid. I'm sitting there just screwing and unscrewing the pen sometimes just because I like the feel of it. It's weird. Judge me. I don't care. But similar to that of an Edison pen, I just like screwing it and unscrewing it. I just like screwing, I guess. You know what else I think is cool? Posting the cap puts zero stress on the cap rim. And it's not because of the center band, but because it secures itself on and in the thicker interior part of the cap. It posts about 1.5 inches into the cap. So the balance is actually good because of it.
Is it well balanced if I cap it or if I don't cap it?
Yes, it makes for a good balance, whether you post it or not.
So it's not noticeable.
I mean, it is noticeable when it's posted. You can feel that it's posted, but it's not enough to say
Back-weighted
back weight.
then.
No, not back weighted.
Doesn't the end finial add weight?
Well, I thought I mentioned this before. The end of the pen is not adorned with any end finial. That makes this pen more acrylic than, say, I don't know, a Conklin Durograph. It has more acrylic in the body.
I don't like metal finials.
Well, the metal finial is very classic. It's very elegant looking. It's far better than similar pens in the similar price range. Like, I don't like the Bash, but the Conklin Durograph. I also like the Conklin Durograph, but if you look at that finial, it's like somebody just used a machine and painted on the letters. This one is actually relief style engraving on metal.
How many colors does it come in?
This line of pens come in several vibrant color offerings. And they are vivid, and they are deep, and they are rich.
Stop wasting time and name the colors.
Those colors and their actual names are Black Pearl, Deep Sea Blue, Harvest Yellow, I think Jade, Oyster Yellow, Ruby Red, and Tiger Yellow. To me, this pen is favorable to the Conklin Durograph because it's made of more acrylic than the Conklin Durograph. It has more color options and has less glued parts that are just simply friction fit. Now, I get it. You gotta save money, and that's what Conklin did. I think the Laban Celebration does a better job. And you know something else? Overall, it has a sleeker and more classy look. Laban also refuses to use any parts made in China, just to maintain their quality control. And they're different, just in case you were unaware, China and Taiwan, especially when it comes to quality control in products. Now, what do I think makes Conklin Duragraphs more favorable than the Laban? There's not much. I would just have to say it's in the history and the name of Conklin. I would also have to say it has maybe the screw and converter and the screw and nib unit. That's pretty much it.
What does the Laban cost?
The price of this pen is about $58, and it's only $6 more than the Durograph. It's comparable, if not better, in both quality, control, and aesthetics than the Conklin Durograph. And plus, you don't have the ambiguity of who and where the nib came from. That looms over me. It could for other people as well. And it may not be an issue for you or a point of contention for you, but for me it is.
Tell me more. Tell me what's bad about this pen.
All right. You want to go there? Fine. Let's talk coin. I'd have to say that the marketing for this brand is just not great. There are many people who never even heard of Laban, which is a crying shame for sure. As a matter of fact, the one guy in charge of distribution in the United States for Laban, when I spoke to him, he was unaware of the name Brian Goulet. So that means he never reached out to Brian Goulet. And if he hasn't reached out to Brian Goulet, that just means he hasn't reached out to a lot of other people. That also results in the fact that he probably hasn't reached enough fountain pen audience members. Now, in all honesty, and with all respect intended, I honestly don't think it's his fault. It's not his fault. There's a rather distinct language barrier.
What is it about this pen that you find ugly?
I guess you just gotta make things uncomfortable and weird, don't you? Alright, we'll go there. The ugly. I get, and I totally understand that this is an inexpensive pen and there has got to be corners cut, just to maintain the low price point of what it costs. However, being that I did notice them, I'm gonna point them out. I'll start with the nib unit. Yes, it is fixed, but the discoloration due to the glue where the nib unit is fixed into the grip section, it just interrupts and ruins the clean look of the acrylic.
Why?
Most likely to save time and money. Putting in threads into acrylic to fit in a threaded nib unit, it takes time and money, so they needed to cut that corner. Oh, there's also the cap interior. There are visible machining striations that are visible both inside and outside of the cap, and it goes up and down the length of the cap. I'm sure that these could have been smoothed out, but I'm also equivocally sure that it would have raised the cost. So again, a corner cut. The same goes for the body. I don't understand why, but there are several layers of boring within the body that's visible from the inside and out. Now with the darker colors, it's not so apparent, but it's still visible. Again, could that have been smoothed out? Yes, but once again, they cut corners to cut cost. Lastly, and this is very minor, the threading that's inside of the barrel where the grip screws in, it extends further than it needs to go.
Why?
I got no idea. I don't make pens, but it's noticeable. Decision-making time. Should you pull the trigger or should you not pull the trigger? That's what you're gonna ask on the Laban celebration? Yeah? Well, if you're asking me, in spite of the ugly or the bad, the quality and the look, it just really outweighs the price the pen calls for. And I also think that it's a better option than the Durograph, which I also like a lot. So I'd say take the shot and pull the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger. But just a side note, and I think this is important to point out. I did a review on the Bexley Patriarch, and I said I wouldn't buy the Bexley Patriarch, I would instead get the Durograph. But having said that, I should also point out I wouldn't buy the Durograph, I would instead get the Laban. So, would I buy the Durograph? Yes, if the Laban didn't exist. Would I buy the Bexley Patriarch? Yes, if the Durograph didn't exist. Would I buy the Laban Celebration? Yes, no matter what.